going on, everybody? We are back again. Another episode of our Maritimes Division only Draft to Glory Franchise Mode Challenge. It is a mouthful of a title, but we are back again, ready for yet another season, the 2032-2033 season. We have made it pretty far into this series as it stands. Now, the big thing heading into this episode was how exactly do we want to set up the team? And we had a couple of options, and ultimately, looking at the comments section, you guys kind of made it clear that at least one change needed to happen. You're a fan of the +5 with Hines, Huck, and Rayome, but Corazzini being on the third line was just a bit too much for some of you, and I do understand it. You know, I do think the amounts of, ultimately the depth that gives us up the middle is nice, but I do agree Corazzini's at a pretty crucial stage, and I really don't want to mess with that +5 on the power play, the first line power play either, as weird as it is to have Laflemme and Bates as forwards. But ultimately, I can agree we can make that change, although I will say, I forget exactly, what exactly would the change have been? There was a change I could do, and I don't remember what the hell it is. What happened? There was a change I could do to get a +3 on the third line. I just don't know how to find it now. But I swear there was a change to get a potential +3. But yeah, it won't let me find it. That's perfectly fine, though. So this will be the team for this season. Excited to see, of course, how Hines and Rayome happen to develop. I mean, Rayome, 22 years old. If we can get him to like an 83, 84 by the time he's done growing, then it's tough to say that this team won't be able to get that much closer to actually being a legitimate playoff contender. Now, obviously, Cousineau's capped out, but an 81 overall goalie, at least in NHL 20, good enough to win a Stanley Cup with. So we'll see if it's good enough in 21. And ultimately here, of course, goaltending-wise, we're set. We don't really need anybody else. I'm sure we'll end up with a goaltender or two in subsequent drafts. Defensively, Bellemare and Sauve can fill the role, but obviously we're going to want someone who's a little bit better. It's just, we have these medium top sixes here who maybe will challenge them. It's really the one thing that we're missing right now, I would say, all things considered, is that solid defensive prospect that we can really look to help lead this team forward. But when it comes to that, we can take a look at the upcoming draft class. Of course, we have no idea if we're going to be a playoff team or not. I would hope so. And we have a player in the top 5. Now, it is a center. Georges Dubois is available from the Acadie Bathurst Titan. Would love to get him, but obviously that is extremely unlikely unless we were to miss the playoffs and win the lottery. And there's really no way we can tank right now. If you think about it, it would just be way too detrimental to the team, and we're already at the beginning of the season. So, nothing we can do about potentially getting or missing out on Georges Dubois. If it's meant to happen, it'll happen, but it probably won't. Aside from that, though, we do have somebody else here in the first round, Noah Goodbranson out of Cape Breton, as well as Garrett Keefe. So, 2 Eagles available to us here, no longer screaming, of course. But Garrett Keefe, I'd say, would be the target. We got an option out of Drummondville, 2 options out of Drummondville. Okay, so, hey, at the very least, it's almost a guarantee, unless we go deep into the playoffs, that we're going to get, one of these 2 Eagles, which works for me. Second round, aside from that, there is Keaton Kilger out of Moncton. So, looking ahead, also Mauricio Moses out of the Charlottetown Islanders, and a goalie, Bernard Papineau, out of Halifax. So we have some pretty good options. Javon McCammon as well out of Moncton. So the draft might not be the worst, but obviously right now the goal is simple. Let's get to the playoffs again. It's been a couple seasons now since we made it. Our ratings are as good as they've ever been. 84, 82, and a 79 compared to Florida. 92, 89, and an 84. So we are still heavily outmatched on paper, but this team gets to the postseason and crazier things have happened. So let's go ahead and see how this goes down. Are we going to be a playoff team in the 2032-2033 season? I hope this leads into a playoff episode, if not outright is a playoff episode by the end of it. Man, Chicago was 0-9. Good Lord, now 0-10 because we beat them. I hope this leads into a playoff episode. If it ends up being the draft episode, admittedly, I'll be a little bit disappointed. Even if we end up with some half-decent options to select in the draft, which it looks like, at least for the first few rounds, we're going to have decent picks. At least it won't be a very limited player pool that we're able to select from like we've seen in other years. But again, right now, our target isn't the draft. We need to take that step forward, and I do think this team is certainly good enough now that we can do that, and we're hanging in there, looking for win number 20 before the end of the month, and we do get it against San Jose. So as of January 2nd, because I couldn't stop the sim before we beat the Devils, we're at 22, 13, and 3. We are atop the Atlantic Division. Wow. And have the second best record in the Eastern Conference. Because the West is crazy. 38 games in, nearly at the midway point. Here, let's sim to the exact midway point of the season. We get a pity point there against Minnesota. We play a brutal Chicago team again, but they do beat us on this occasion, which is kind of shitty. And in Carolina, after this game, we hit the halfway point of the season. We lose 5-1. But still, midway point of the season, in sole possession of first place in the Atlantic Division. That is fantastic. Exactly what we were looking for. Not even a top 8 team, though. We're leading our division, and we're 12th in the NHL. Jesus. And there's what? Two Eastern Conference teams. Jesus. Goals for per game. Somewhere in the mid-table. Goals against per game. Again, mid-table. It's not that bad. Our power play percentage is 4th in the league. And there you see we're at a 3.27 and a 2.93. So that +5 on the power play is paying dividends. So we have a top 4 power play. Our penalty kill is at a phenomenal 88.9%, second in the league. So it is very tough to find anything to complain about right now. Oh, yes. Philippe Rayom, point per game, still only a 77, but the statistical growth he's going to see at the end of the season is going to be something else. Cole Huckins leading the way as well in terms of points. LaRue still has 31 points in 41 games. A minus player, though. That second line's not really gelling as well as you'd like to see it. I mean, Hines is obviously lagging behind the other options, but he's already up to an 80. But LaRue, Corazzini, and Hannon, they've been okay. They haven't been amazing. That's kind of what I was fearful of. And as it is, Corazzini's dropped anyway. He's down to an 83. I don't know if that's morale or what, but as it is, Wes Corazzini's dropped a little bit. So I think we might be looking at making a change here. Some of our depth scoring is okay too, like Drouin, Deslauriers, and Boucher. That third line, the middle six isn't working. It's just not. Defensively, Laflemme and Pierre Leroy doing very well. Deschamps doing okay as well. Bellemare and Bates is not a good pairing, though. And Sylvain Guite has not made the most of his goaltending opportunities. So despite the fact that we're in first, I think you can clearly see some spots on the team that can be addressed. Unfortunately with Guite, I think we could send him down for the rest of the season. Penner is brutal in the AHL, but Nicky Roux is still killing it as a backup. I think we can look to make this change. We can send down Guite without putting him through waivers. He'll be the AHL starter, and we're turning it over to Nick Russia. Absolutely. And we'll see if he can continue to do well. Then defensively, we're not going to make any changes to the personnel, but we're still going to make a lineup change. And forward-wise as well. Again, I'm really not happy with that middle six. I get what you guys are concerned about, but he dropped anyway. Probably a temporary thing, I hope, although he is listed as a third liner. But with Corazzini, I think we need to go back to what I had in mind. I mean, Boucher has dropped too. So yeah, the morale on this team right now, it's taken a pretty big hit. And there's the +3 from having Corazzini, Boucher, and LaPierre. So that is clearly the play on that third line. And surprisingly, Laurent, Drouin, and Deslauriers, who's really struggled, will be with LaRue and Hannon on that second line. I mean, we could have +1s across the board, but it'd be kind of a dumb move to turn down a +3. And unfortunately, there's no crazy change that could be made elsewhere by dropping Drouin and Deslauriers down to the fourth line. So that is still going to be the team. And then defensively, it was Bates and Bellemare. That is simply not working. We have to have Bates and Leroy separate, just because they're similar players. So it'll be Leroy with Bellemare and Bates with Sauve. And that's the team. Huge risk. I'm well aware of making moves when we're first in the division. But despite the fact that we're in first, I think if you can identify issues with the team, you still have to do what's best for the team and make those adjustments on the fly. I mean, we were struggling anyway. We had lost 3 straight games leading into that point. After losing to the Islanders, I mean, we won 4 in a row. And we're looking good here heading down the back stretch of the month. So don't start off February in the hottest note. We seem to be a very streaky team. We'll see if we can string some wins together here before the deadline. There we go. Up to 34 wins. Make it 35, hopefully. Nope, but an overtime loss. Still list ourselves as sellers and then just move on. So the deadline goes through. We've hit 35. Can we make it 36? We can. So as of March 1st, 36, 22, and 6. We are still atop the division with 18 games to go. 3 points above the Florida Panthers and 7 points above the teams in the wild card spots. Granted, they both have 2 games at hand. So we're still in a very good spot here. All things considered, Cole Huckins has really risen to the occasion, being our top-line center for this season. And again, to look across the board, we're still not even a top 8 team. We are currently in 9th. Our goals for at a 3-3-1, which isn't, pretty much dead center from the looks of it. And our goals against is now in the bottom 6. Our power play at 26%. Third best in the league. Our penalty kill at 89% is the best in the league. So we are a special teams force. And apparently road warriors too. Not that great at home. To look at the team or not because of a little bit of menu lag. You gotta love that. Even on this console, it's just the way the damn game's programmed. Huckins on 71 points. Rayom has 26 goals already. Still showing up as a 77, but he's going to get some great development. LaRue now on 55 points. Hines up to 43, so Hines is really, gotten the scoring touch going at this stage. Still an 80. Corazzini on 41 points. He's back up to an 84. Hannon still at an 84 as well. Got Duchesne, Lapierre. Unfortunately, Lapierre and Boucher being on the third line. The dog's got an itch. I don't know if you can hear that. Lapierre and Boucher, kind of regressing a little bit, being on the third line rather than the top 6, but it was a risk we had to take. And Duran Delorier isn't really ready for prime time. You could make the call of calling up Jordan DeMay, maybe Tim Orr. Or Cesar Duchesne. All 3 are doing quite well. Duchesne has 31 goals. Jean Robitaille's really up there too. Yeah, maybe we look to send down Duran Delorier. Because the others are at least going to hit 20. He's on the third line with he's on the second line with some talented people. He's just not getting it done. That second line really hasn't gelled 5-on-5 all year long. Pierre Leroy, though. Good stuff. 25 goals, by the way, for Hugo. Bates and Belmar still struggling, despite being split up. So, that's a little bit concerning. And Nick Russia making the most of his opportunities. So we certainly have our backup goalie. But with that, let's take a look here. And I think we might need to try something else. I'm a little bit worried about Belmar. So I wonder if we give Camachi the opportunity, see what he can do. And then as mentioned, I just don't think Duran Delorier is getting the job done. So we are going to be looking at Robida or DeMay. And obviously Tim Orr is the more interesting one because he still has room to grow. And I think that's what we got to do. Let's give Tim Orr the opportunity here and just see if we get some kind of crazy development out of him playing alongside LaRue and Hannon. It's worth a shot. We don't have a natural left wing on the team, apparently. So Tim Orr will get the chance alongside Hannon and LaRue. Defensively, we are going to take out Simon Belmar in exchange for Mr. Camachi. And yeah, let's go back to Sauvé and Leroy because we know that works relatively well. And Camachi will be with Bates. And then, of course, defensively we're good. So, or at least, defensively and offensively we're pretty much fine. So Duran Delorier will fill in down in the AHL. He just wasn't ready for prime time. And defensively, we can get Charlie DeRoche back in the lineup, who was a healthy scratch for a decent amount of the season. So continuing to make changes despite being in a good position. It's my calling card. But I want to get our team to the point where if I can, we don't have any really identifiable weaknesses aside from just, hey, on paper we might not be the best. Now, losing the first 2 games immediately after that doesn't help. But then we beat San Jose 9-1, for God's sakes. Lost to Winnipeg. The Florida Panthers have jumped us by a point. New Jersey, it's a win. Minnesota's a really good team, and they kicked the hell out of us. Chicago, we beat them again. Carolina's next. We are in the top spot. My God, the Blue Jackets have already won 53 games. No other team in the East has won over 40. 11 games to go. We are in a 3-team tie with 84 points atop the division. At the very least, we have a decent 7-point safety net on Toronto. So Carolina, we beat them in overtime. Big win. Big win. A bunch of back-to-backs here. Islanders, we lose. Sabres, we lose. That's not great. That drops us into 3rd. But look at the back-to-backs. Jesus. Detroit, we lose. Toronto, we win. 3 out of 4 is not too bad. And then Vegas and Nashville. We have yet to clinch a playoff spot. We are now 3 points behind Tampa and 5 points behind Florida, although we do have a game in hand. 3-point lead on Ottawa, although they have a game at hand on us, and we're 9 points clear. Toronto with a game at hand, though. So let's see what happens here. Brutal Vegas team. We get that 3-0 win. Is that it? That's it. The Newfoundland Growlers are back in the postseason. It took the Eastern Conference being as weak as I've ever seen it. But we will be dancing once more. We are going back to the playoffs. Now it's just a question of our seed. We have 3 games left. Could easily take the division if we win out. Anaheim's a really tough team, though, and we lose. And we can finish on a maximum of 97 points here. So the division title is gone. We need to hope that we stay ahead of Toronto. Or of Toronto. Yeah, Toronto and Ottawa. I don't know if we're going to be able to jump Tampa. Boston, we lose. We're definitely not going to be able to jump Tampa. Granted, they lost their last game. So we get to our final game of the season. It's against Washington. We lose that one as well. We will be the 3rd seed in the Atlantic Division, taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning in round 1. So a great chance at winning the division title. Went up in smoke, unfortunately. Like I said, we just appear to be a really streaky team, which isn't the worst quality in the world. I mean, you think, playoffs, we start stringing these wins together, anything can really happen here. But yeah, we will be playing Tampa, who has the offensive edge on us, significantly, I'd say. 20 more goals scored, but we have that slight defensive edge. It's not too bad. Around the league, Columbus, 61 wins. Good God, we finished 11th. In the league, our goals for it was at a 3-2-3, so we're mid-table in that regard. Goals against, we are bottom 3 in the league, so we have, or at least tied for bottom 3 in the league, we have one of the best defense/goaltending tandems in the league right now. It's just that depth scoring hasn't quite been there. Our power play is at 24%, which is 4th best in the league. Columbus is absolutely insane, and the penalty kill is still at a phenomenal 89.4%, the best in the league. We're really good defensively. We just need that depth scoring, which is a little bit surprising. But to take a look at the point totals now, we start off with Cole Huckins, who put up 89 points, a career high. 89 points for Huckins, who is still a career minus player. This was his first season being a positive player in his career, but 74 assists is just tremendous. Philippe Réaume, 74 points, 29 goals, may have just won the Calder. Still showing up as a 77, but I can't wait to see what kind of offseason development we see from him. It should be crazy. LaRue, 5-on-5 was pretty rough, or just even strength was pretty rough, but 63 points, 23 goals, 31 points on the power play. I just don't know if we found the right winger for him. Hines, 58 points, 23 goals. Very happy with that on that top line to try and rush him a little bit. Corazini with 56 points is solid. Hannon with 50, but again, Hannon and LaRue defensively were just brutal. LaPierre, 30 points is okay. Boucher, a little bit under the mark. Duchesne on the 4th line was good. Gill on the 4th line was good. Loshing on the 4th line was good. Tim Orr is not the guy. So we have to figure out who's going to be that guy on the 2nd line. And we know Corazini doesn't necessarily work with LaRue. You could argue bump down Hannon and go with Corazini and LaRue, and I don't know if I disagree, as Hugo scored 32 goals with 70 points, 61 points for Pierre Leroy. And Camachi was okay. He was better than Belmar, but still probably not the answer. And Bates, too. He's 5-on-5, really struggling. So we got to find the right pairing here for Bates. And I don't think it's Belmar, and it's probably not Camachi. And it's obvious Cousineau is going to be our guy, and Russia is going to be the backup. But we need to figure out something here. So defensively, if it's not Camachi, who would it be? Because it's not Belmar, it's not Camachi. So we'd be looking at Simon Levineau, who's had a really good season in the AHL. Oscar Plandowski, who had a really good season in the AHL. Marcel Bouchard. But obviously, the more we go through, the lower the overall. Jacob De Silva, you give a hell of an opportunity to. Or we just say Camachi or Belmar and hope for the best. Maybe there's a different combination we could try. I don't think we want to break up that top pairing, but we could. Forward-wise, again, the big thing here, as LaRue's probably not happy about ice time. No, he's just not happy about his performance. Again, we have to figure out what to do with that second line. We know or isn't the answer. Dren Delorier wasn't the answer. Mark Hort put up 29 goals, but he's 26. He's not going to get any better. Robida put up 43 goals with 34 assists. Duchesne, 35 goals with 49 assists. Low top 9, but still young enough to potentially develop. DeMay, 62 assists. So we got a lot of players from a really good AHL team that we could give an opportunity to on that second line. Unfortunately, I think Tim Orr managed to just blow his one real opportunity at ever cracking an NHL lineup. So let me know what you think. I'll leave it there, and we'll get into the playoffs in the next episode. The middle six, what do we do? Who gets that chance there? Does Hannon get bumped down? Do we leave Corazzini there and just find the correct winger? Where does Hannon play? First or third line? And who takes Tim Orr's spot in the lineup? And then defensively, who the hell do we get to play with Sean Bates, who might be able to turn things around? Louis Deschamps been pretty good, but we could, bump somebody up with Laflemme. You've seen the options. Let me know what you think. Let's get the confirmation. The Newfoundland Growlers back in the playoffs for just the second time, where we'll be taking on the 46-win Tampa Bay Lightning. Time to see if we can get our first ever playoff win. We have a playoff win, but our first ever series win. It's going to be interesting.